What is going on, everybody? It is Rick, and I am here with the June review video. I'd mentioned it in one of my other videos that for the month of June, I'm just going to do one review video. I only watched 13 movies the entire month, compared to I'll be doing July videos in this recording session, and I watched 15 movies in each half of the month. So, putting everything in one video for June. We're going to dive right in, and the first thing that I checked out, let me scooch over here. You'd think I'd learn by now when I'm recording, huh? I'm a little hoarse today, so I have a cup of hot tea here to help with the throat, as I'm going to be talking a lot. The first movie we watched in June, I actually watched solo, and is VFW. Checked that one out on 4K. It was a blind buy I made quite a while ago. It's a cast of older actors that are in the movie. Stephen Lang, William Sadler, Martin Kove, Fred Williamson, and even George Wendt are in the film. And basically about a group of guys who hang out in the VFW. And there's an old movie theater across the parking lot where there's a bunch of drug deals going down. And this big, crazy, violent fiasco occurs. It's a short runtime. It's one where I was doing other stuff while the movie was on, not necessarily one where I was, paying full attention. I was losing interest, honestly, in several parts. And that's all I have to say about it. You probably hear Khaleesi meowing in the other room. She's upset because I have her in there while I record. But VFW gets a 1.5 out of 5 for me. It didn't stay on my shelf. It's already long gone. So, unlike the next movie we watched, which we saw in theaters with RJ, and it was Top Gun Maverick. In IMAX is how we saw this, and it was fantastic. Definitely a highlight so far of 2022. Heard a lot of great things going into the movie. RJ, we watched the original Top Gun. He enjoyed it, so we're all pretty excited about the sequel, and it was fantastic. Really had no idea how good it would be going into it. A movie that's become a top 5 grossing film of all time now in domestic box office. A mix of action, humor, romance, drama, all combined perfectly for this movie. Tom Cruise is great. I'm a big fan of Miles Teller. He's great in the movie as well as Goose's son. And it's the first movie to get a big 5-star rating for me. So Top Gun Maverick gets a 5 out of 5. I love the film. It's just absolutely fantastic. The next thing we watched, we continued the Rocky movies by diving into the Creed films, and we watched Creed on Blu-ray. This movie was my favorite film of 2015, so I was curious to revisit it. I think I'd watched it one time in between 2015 and now. So that year, considering the fact that it was my top-rated movie, also had stuff like The Revenant, The Martian, Mad Max Fury Road, the original Kingsman, Ex Machina, all movies I loved, but Creed kind of took the cake for me that year, and I still love the movie. Michael B. Jordan as Creed, Apollo Creed's son, Adonis, is fantastic. Great casting, in my opinion. Rocky as his trainer, mentor, kind of helps him, with that aspect. And, just his relationship that he forms. Why can't I think of her name? She's in Thor. Oh man, that's going to drive me crazy. Tessa Thompson. His relationship with Tessa Thompson is really enjoyable on screen. And I just really, really enjoyed Creed quite a bit, especially upon a rewatch. I give it a 5 out of 5 once again, which is what I gave it the first couple times I've seen it. So then the last Rocky film, when I typed out this review, I said the last Rocky movie until this November, but Creed 3 has been postponed till 2023. So we're officially caught up after watching Creed 2 on 4K. I will say that my enjoyment of Creed 2 dropped off a bit on a rewatch from the first time that I watched it. I love them pulling Ivan Drago back into the mix, his son being a challenger for Adonis Creed. But I didn't like a lot of his the subplots with his baby, and there was just aspects of that I didn't really like, and I think took away from the story. Although, like all the Rocky movies, you have to have some emotional story arcs to pull at the heartstrings for the runtime. And like I said, them pulling Drago back into it, fueled Adonis, because obviously Drago killed his dad in the boxing ring. There's also Rocky dealing with the fact that he should have thrown in the towel and Apollo would still be with them. So this was also, the first movie was directed by Ryan Coogler. He did not return for the sequel. I know Michael B. Jordan is directing the third movie. So 3 different directors for the 3 Creed films. But Creed 2, still an enjoyable film. Like I said, dropped off a bit for me. I gave it a 4 out of 5. The next thing we watched was a classic comedy movie that I was excited about showing to RJ, and that is Wayne's World, the original from 1992. A very quotable, enjoyable movie. Still makes me laugh out loud. The music is fantastic. Like I said, incredibly quotable, highly quotable for sure. It's a predictable flick, but for a comedy movie based on an SNL sketch, it is definitely one of the best. Mike Myers and Dana Carvey are great. Rob Lowe as the villain is fun too. Wayne's World gets a 4 out of 5 for me. Definitely, I love Wayne's World. So the next thing we watched was on Netflix, and it is a film called Hustle. I, as a Philadelphia area person, had heard a lot of things about it. Lots of Philadelphia sports ties that the movie had. So I was pretty excited. It was about, a scout for the Sixers. And it was also a return to the drama for Adam Sandler. His last drama was my favorite film of 2019, and that was Uncut Gems. So I was curious to see him go back to the dramatic role. And like I said, he's a Sixers scout. I'm a huge Sixers fan. And, Adam Sandler is fantastic in the lead role. He plays Stanley Sugarman, who used to play college basketball. You find out there was some issues that they kind of tease throughout the movie without getting into what happened. So he really wants to become a coach on the professional level. And the owner of the Sixers, who he had a great relationship with, passes away, and his son, who he doesn't have a great relationship, takes over the team, and there's some issues there. The player that is in the movie who plays Bo Cruz is, I'm going to butcher this name, Juancho Hernan Gomez. He plays Bo Cruz in the film, who's basically a construction worker, who's also a hustler on the basketball court in Spain. And it's just a good movie. Basically a love letter to basketball, love letter to the city of Philadelphia, and its Sixers sport history. Lots of former players make little cameos, all sorts of pro players throughout the movie. I enjoyed Hustle quite a bit. I wish we get a physical media release, honestly. Maybe sometime it'll happen, but I don't know if it'll get the criterion. So 4.5 out of 5 for Hustle. Like I said, highly enjoyed that one. Probably one of the better movies I watched so far in 2022 as of, June. The next thing I watched was also about basketball, and it was on Hulu, and it's a film called Wolves, which stars Michael Shannon. And the problem I had with the movie is there was tons of cliches throughout it, like too many, like way too many cliches. And the ending gets really, really dark. But it gets even more dark as you think about how the movie ended. Like, as you stew on it, you're like, man, is that the conclusion of this film? I don't know if I mentioned this. It stars Michael Shannon. His son, played by Taylor John Smith, is the main actor in the movie. Basically, a kid who's in high school. He's the star of his high school team. Michael Shannon has serious gambling debt and gambling problems. Michael Shannon is fantastic in the movie. He's the real highlight. And it's about the drama that the dad causes for the son and the family. So Wolves gets a 2 out of 5. Not something I would necessarily recommend checking out over some other things. The next thing we watched was with RJ, and that was Wayne's World 2 on Blu-ray. So I don't enjoy Wayne's World 2 nearly as much as the first Wayne's World. There's some funny scenes in it, and I don't think it's as quotable. I'm not really a big fan. They build up, Wayne stock, and it's like a running gag, and all these bands they tease throughout the movie. And all you get is like a 2-minute Aerosmith performance. You don't see any other bands show up. You just see Rip Torn and Aerosmith. And they're teasing this massive festival. It was weird they couldn't get other bands to just show up and even pretend like they were playing to film a montage, or even walk up pretending like they were going to play. That never happens. Like I said, not as laugh out loud as the original. It's fun to see Christopher Walken this time as the villain instead of Rob Lowe. And there's some small characters in the movie that are fun, but definitely a massive step down, in my opinion, from the original Wayne's World. So Wayne's World 2 gets a 2.5 out of 5 for me. The next thing we watched, we also checked out with RJ, and it was on 4K, and it is The Dark Tower. I didn't really know much about this going into it, except that it was based on a series of Stephen King books. It had Idris Elba as well as Matthew McConaughey in it, so I was on board for that. And what happens with this movie, and what I think the big issue is they basically take a movie that's only like 90 minutes and try to shove like all 7 books worth of the series into one movie. At least that's what it feels like. There are some fun Easter eggs to Stephen King's books and movies throughout the film, which were fun to like pick out and recognize. But from what I read, Sony like even tried to go back and add more like backstory to Idris Elba's character, the gunslinger, and it just really didn't help. And this movie was kind of just like a disappointment. It felt very messy. Matthew McConaughey looked really weird with his hairstyle he had in the movie. And I gave The Dark Tower a 1.5 out of 5. Not one of my favorite watches of the month. So might be teasing what's to come very soon. So the next thing we watched was also in theaters, and it was Jurassic World Dominion. A movie that's gotten quite a mixed reaction. I know since I've seen this, and like I said, I'm recording this almost 3 months after I've seen the movie. On physical, they released it with an extended edition, which I hear is like 15 minutes longer. I haven't heard if it's a necessary 15 minutes or not. But this, like I said, gets a lot of hate, has gotten a lot of hate. And I thought it was a fun popcorn movie. That's exactly how I would describe Jurassic World Dominion. I definitely think it's an improvement over Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which outside of Jurassic Park 3 was the worst movie in the franchise for me. I definitely think this is a step up from it. I like that there's a ton of references to the first, 3 movies, as well as Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom. There's lots of tie together. It's basically the culmination of 5 movies, 2 separate franchises, essentially. Not separate franchises, but 2 separate trilogies of films, which is all built together. You get to see Sam Neill and Laura Dern and Jeff Goldblum back together, which is a fun time. DeWanda Wise plays Kayla Watts in the movie. She was definitely a very good addition to the cast, in my opinion. I know I had an issue with some of the side characters in Jurassic World as well as Fallen Kingdom. She was definitely a nice addition. There's obviously always convenient plot points when it comes to a big popcorn film. But like I said, I wasn't watching the new Jurassic World movie expecting an Oscar, worthy movie. I just wanted a fun, quality popcorn movie, and that's what I got. And Maisie, who was in Fallen Kingdom, who played the girl who was cloned, was definitely the weakest part of that movie. It's probably one of the biggest thumbs downs I had of Fallen Kingdom. However, this time they kind of like flesh out her character a bit more to kind of like pull together why she's important to the Jurassic World universe, essentially. But like I said, I got a fun time at the movies, and that's all I wanted. I got a 3.5 out of 5 for Jurassic World Dominion. The next thing we watched was another movie RJ wanted to see, a drama that he wanted to see. So I think he wanted to watch it because of the lead, but he says he's more interested in dramatic movies. So we watched The Truman Show, which stars Jim Carrey, on Blu-ray. Truman basically is born and adopted by a corporation, and his life is a TV show. If you didn't know, basically the predecessor to the reality TV boom that has occurred since this movie came out, which kind of makes it more intriguing based on that. It's just like a movie that's pretty appropriate for all ages. Watching it, it's a great movie. Jim Carrey gives an excellent performance. Ed Harris is very good in it. Paul Giamatti has a little role in it, but it's just a very, very well done movie. A movie that I enjoy quite a bit. Jim Carrey is, he's not only a great comedic actor, but he can be a great dramatic actor as well. The Truman Show, I gave a 4 out of 5 to. The next thing we watched was on Blu-ray, and that is Father Stu, which stars Mark Wahlberg. I got a very similar experience from this movie that I got from stuff like Spencer and The Lost Daughter, where the lead performance is absolutely fantastic. This time Mark Wahlberg as the lead. But the movie is just kind of blah for me, but it's led by such a great performance that I'm intrigued to watch where the movie goes. Basically, Mark Wahlberg plays Stu Long, who's a boxer turned priest who suffers from a rare ailment. Mel Gibson plays Stu's dad. He is a great supporting actor in the film. But like I said, there were multiple parts in the second and third act where I was like kind of checked out of the movie, struggling to like be fully invested in the story. And then it kind of closes well, especially the last 20 minutes. And, like I said, Mel Gibson, he plays a jerk in the movie with some comedic elements, so it's a perfect role for Mel Gibson to play. But overall, Father Stu is definitely a movie I would recommend checking out. I personally didn't love it. It did not stay on my shelf. Father Stu gets a 3 out of 5 for me. And then the last thing that I watched in June was a documentary on Apple Plus, and it is called Dads, which was a film made by Bryce Dallas Howard, basically dedicated to her dad, Ron Howard, as well as her brother, who's about to become a father for the first time while making this movie. The movie basically is it's a documentary about how important being a dad is in life. A lot of it focuses on Ron Howard and how he brought up her and her siblings. Numerous famous dads are interviewed in the film, but basically they kind of use them as setup pieces to talk about I don't want to say an average person, but a regular father's story. And there's like 4 or 5 dads that it tells their story in like 15-minute segments. But like I said, between is, a bunch of celebrities that are interviewed, like, what's it mean to be a dad to you? And they'll all kind of talk, and then it goes into a story about that, about a real life person, not a famous person, that's a father. So it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's a good documentary. It's nothing mind-blowing. Like, it was fine for a good watch. The stories of the regular people, as I guess I will call them, not the celebrities, were the highlight of the movie. Very interesting stuff. So Dads gets a 3.5 out of 5 for me. And that is it, guys. 13 movies watched in June. Like I said, I can tell you in July I watched 30 movies. So that'll be a two-part videos. But the surprise of the month, the movie I was totally blown away by, was not expecting it to be nearly as good as it was, is Top Gun Maverick. It was absolutely outstanding. I can't wait to get it on 4K and rewatch it again. It was just an excellent movie. And then Hot Trash of the Month, definitely the weakest thing I watched was The Dark Tower. Just a big disappointment. Really was hoping for more, but it became kind of more and more apparent that it wasn't going to be a good watch as we were watching it. So that is it, guys. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you guys don't do so already. My subscriber number has basically become stagnant, which is fine. But subscribe if you watch the channel and you're not a subscriber yet. Also, check out the description box down below where you can find links to my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd, where I rate and review all the movies I watch, plus I go a little more in depth with my reviews. Also, check out links to my Amazon wishlist, my eBay store, Blu-ray.com profile, email address, P.O. box can all be found down below. So thank you guys for watching. As always, until next time, who's down to movie?